talking to one of my friends about the whole family dynamic that I went through that I didn't have growing up, and now realizing why I had that dynamic that I have today and why things went the way they did. Because I was talking to one of my friends and I was just processing out because I was sitting in my parents' garage scrolling through the internet, and my mom got mad at me about something. And then I thought about it later, and she cares more about she cares more about like food or appliances or her house or her car than she does her own children. Um, and then she gets mad at her children because they're not working and their contract is different. So their life contract is different than hers. And she got all mad because she doesn't understand why I'm not working a 9 to 5 job right now. But the universe wants me not to work or I would be at work. So the universe wanted me to go to work. The agency that I work through would call me and I would go back to work. But the universe wants me to learn and heal and grow right now. That's why I am where I'm at. And how do you explain that to somebody that's from a different generation or even from a different mindset of healing is her not healing is not her number one concern. She doesn't care about healing. That's the last thing on her mind is healing from trauma or processing things or learning to grow the way the universe wants you to grow. Because when you realize why the universe puts you in these situations and you're like precarious, you're awkward, you're you really don't know what to do because you're in this situation of I don't know what I need to do. That's because I'm not looking at it through the lens that I need to look at it through. So when I look at it through the lens of what I need to look at it through, like when I look at things through a spiritual mindset and I live by faith and I don't live in my fear and I don't live in my I'm not there yet like mindset, and I live in the prosperity idea that I'm moving forward to what I'm supposed to do in my life, then it really doesn't matter what is going on in my present life because what's in front of me that I'm seeing with the naked eye is not going to define me for the rest of my life. So, and it's half of it's an illusion, anyways. And that's what my parents don't understand because they only see the illusion in front of them. They only see the 3D. They don't see the 5D. They're not experiencing the 5D. They are living in a different reality. They're living in a different experience. So they get really mad because you're not doing what normal humanity is doing. And I think it's kind of interesting because when you step away from what normal humanity is doing, they're living a lie. Like they don't see it. And when they realize why things are going the way they need to, and you start living the point of in faith and trusting the process that if I'm supposed to be the guru or I'm supposed to thrive to the level of my dream or my task at hand that I was chosen to do on this planet. Like I came here and I chose a lifestyle. I chose to go through this pain of living with a family, of performance based love and guilt, shame, and remorse. Like if I look at all those experiences that I chose to go through and learn and realize that I went through those experiences so I can have a different, not really prosperity, but a different like idea or a different challenge of what I need to be. And when I accept that and I realize that I really want to speak on what I believe, and I'm very hesitant to, because I think my biggest fear is being rejected. But if I look back at me being rejected for as many years as I've been here, I'm over like analyzing that because I've been rejected on so many different levels. I've been rejected a financial level. I've been rejected emotionally. I've been rejected romantically. I've been rejected sexually. Like I've been rejected on so many different like aspects. But at the end of the day, when I process why I've gone through what I've gone through and realize that a lot of that is just like temporary pain. It's not even just permanent pain, it's just a temporary pain. And then processing out that I want to speak out. And the reason that I want to speak out is because when I was little, I wasn't able to. Like I was told no too many times as a little kid. And now I want to speak my truth and realize that some people are going to talk down to you because of their belief system, or they're going to talk down to you because of what they've seen with their eyes or what they've experienced. But that's not that, I don't have to accept that as my truth. So when I come to terms with what I'm supposed to do as Master Love and accept that I chose this contract. I chose to come to this planet and experience this experiences and realize this is what's going on. And there's times that I'm not a very big fan of what I chose. And I just have to recalibrate or realize that I don't have to like parts of this journey. But when this journey is not really completed, but when I get to the point of acceptance where I need to be accepted and realize that this is what I need to go through and this is why I need to go through it and this is the reason that I chose to go through this in the first place, and have the courage on, I'm scared of being rejected, but if I look at all my experiences, half of my experiences are rejection. Um, shame, shameful things, and then people talk down to me because I have this crazy dream or I have this crazy idea on what I want to accomplish. And your people been telling me this for decades, that you're never going to achieve this because they're looking at it through their perception of what they see currently. So, but when you realize that God allows you to go through experiences that literally would like shatter you into a million pieces of glass, and then you're like, okay, I don't like this experience. And at the end of the day, I don't need to like this experience. I just have to walk through it because I learned that at the end of the day, whoever talks about me or they talk shit to me or they talk crap about me in front of me is only seeing me through the perception of what they see in their mind. So my mother doesn't like me because she thinks with her experiences, she thinks with her experiences that I've never accomplished anything. But she is not in the astral realm. She is not in the spiritual realm. She has not been with me when I'm alone, when I'm at work, when I'm in the darkest places of my life. She's not there. So her perception of what I think doesn't really matter. But there's a part of me that wants her to accept me because that's normal to want to be accepted by your caregivers. So you want to be accepted by your caregivers. And when you realize that you're never going to get the acceptance that you crave from your caregiver because she's not even on the same capacity of where you're at because of her experiences, and you realize that all I ever wanted was my mother to love me unconditionally, the reason why is she never was taught that. She never experienced that from her caregiver. She never experienced that from her grand caregiver. So when she portrayed what she needed to portray at the time, she's only going after what her caregiver um, learned her at the time. So when you look back and realize that you were learned a certain way, and you realize that the learned behaviors that you were taught were not what you've been shown currently, it just makes you realize that you want to practice new, intelligent, emotional um, ideas. So you want to reconstruct your reality because of what you were shown and how you perceive things from today on. And you realize that all I ever wanted was unconditional love. So I never received that. So there's a big void that I never received the unconditional love or the care or the respect or the honor that I crave through my caregivers, and realizing that that's all I ever wanted, and then stepping back from the perception that I was shown and realizing that this is what I went through. It does not define who I am. It's only an construct of what I see in myself. But if I go deeper into my conscience and realize that this is not relevant no more, that I am so much better than that, and then separating that apart, like picking it apart and getting all the kinks out of it and all the worms out of it and reprogramming that computer, realizing that that idea that I was shown so many years is not relevant anymore. So it's almost like alt delete that program and realize that I am capable of doing anything. I just have to believe that it's possible. But then it goes into the point of I was shown something, but it doesn't matter. It's true today. So I want to step into my new programming, this new robot, this new avatar, but realizing that I live with fear because of what I've seen. So it's going back to that old perception of, and then it's picking that like perception apart and realizing that I am not that person anymore. and people will try to put me back in that box. But last time I checked, I don't fit in a box. I will never fit in a box. I don't even fit in anything. Like I'm a whole different like dynamic in myself. Like I already have different dynamics to me and how I tick and how I work, that the more I realize the reason that I'm scared of that is because of that past experience. So that past experience does not define my current reality. So picking that apart and realizing that, okay, this hurts and this is painful, but that's part of the perception of coming to planet Earth and walking through this experience in this avatar. So when I realize the avatar that I'm in is not the avatar that I can be with the rest of my life, because I have the capacity to pluck all the bad out of this avatar and completely re engineer it to how I want to proceed. So, how I want to proceed is making goals that are very achievable and doing things of a different reality than what other people have. So when I get the idea of this is possible, it just isn't going to happen right now at this second. And realizing that, okay, this is what I went through. But if I didn't go through that experience of no love, no respect, disrespect, lack, void, um, trauma, abuse, neglect, um, suicide, um, just not wanting to like wake up. So like extreme depression. And then throwing like taking all that and like picking it apart. Like it's almost like building like a computer program and being like, I need to delete this process because it's not gonna help me build to the um engineering of the new concept of what I want. So just picking it apart and realizing that I need to alchemize those experiences and show that I am capable of doing anything. I'm just living in this mind of lack because that's what I see in front of me. But that does not mean it's my reality, because I have the capacity to do anything. I have the capacity to be anybody. So when you realize that you are on this world and you can manipulate your creation that's in front of you, so you can manipulate your creation and become anything you want to be. So if you want to be an airline pilot, or you want to be a engineer, or you just want to be a healer, and you know how to manipulate things to help other people because they need to help process out those experiences on, this is what happened to me, it's unfair, it's unjust, it's not even logical why somebody that created me almost 3.5 decades ago, how they just throw me out. But then when you pick that apart and realize why that happened, and you comprehend why a woman would create a child and then be so angry with that child, because that's how she sees her child, that she rejects the idea because it reflects on her. But then at the end of the day, it's all past. But then she thinks it's present. But then she doesn't see the future. So she's throwing it all together in like a mixing bowl and mixing it all together, and it's not working. But when you pick it apart and you realize the experiences that you've gone through are just things you need to like throw out, it's kind of like cleaning a house. Like, you need the bucket of water, you need the mop water, you need the glass cleaner, you need the sink cleaner, you need the soap, you need all the ingredients to clean the house. So when you can pick that apart and be like, okay, so I need to clean up my life, and this is what I need: a pressure washer and some good degreaser, and just clean the fuck out of everything. And then when you step back and you look at your masterpiece of what you accomplished, and yeah, it's going to be painful. And yes, it's going to suck because you've gone through experiences that you can't even like put them to words. Like, you've gone through abusive relationships with people that have the same blood running through you. And you're like kind of confused on that because they told you family is everything, family stays together, family's loyal. And then you're like having a concept of interesting. I kind of don't feel that way anymore. I feel more loyal with complete strangers than I do with the same people that have the same blood in my veins. So I can relate with complete strangers that I've literally talked to for 10 minutes and connect with them and realize that I've gone through experiences with these so called caregivers, and I was loyal to them. And I gave them my undivided attention. I gave them a piece of me. But then realizing why that happened and having the idea of this was supposed to show you something that you need to show other people. And when you show other people, this is the solution, and they don't see it because they think it's normal, or they think it's okay, or they believe that this is how you treat other people, and you like kind of like pull them back and show them that this is not how it's supposed to be, and you don't need to tolerate this. You should have never tolerated this. You should have ran away. But then realizing that sometimes it's easier said than just run away, because there's so much unknown of, if I run away from these people, where am I going to live? What am I going to eat? What am I going to do? So you stay there and you just allow them to tolerate the neglect, the abuse, the trauma, because you don't see another option at the time. tricky thing is at the time. And then when you look at it later, you're like, why the fuck did I tolerate that? I didn't deserve that. I never deserved that. I thought, but then stepping back and then processing it out and then going somewhere and like living somewhere and choosing to do something and then sitting back and then realizing that that was the best time of your life because you were doing things that you didn't even realize that you were doing because you were so shattered. Like you were so shattered. Like you were literally a shattered window and you still pushed on. And you're realizing today that that was yesterday. And you processed it out and you're like, okay, so I used to go to Target and I used to buy my own groceries. And then I would go back and sleep in my car in a big city. And then I would drink alcohol because I didn't know what to do because I was so shattered. And then I started going to meetings and them telling me that I have a problem with alcohol. And then realizing that I don't have a problem with alcohol. I have a problem with abuse. I have a problem with trauma. I have a problem with neglect. I have a problem with being misprogrammed. And then learning all that, and then living there, and then moving to a shelter, and then living in a shelter, and realizing that I want a family, and then getting kicked out of the shelter, and all these like experiences that you've gone through, and realizing that all I ever wanted was to be loved, to be held, to be cherished, to be told I'm good enough, to be shown how to be loved. And then when you step back and you're like, okay, so I lived in this city, I got away from them. They told me to come back. So I trusted that they had my best intentions. And then going through another round of experiences on a whole different level. Like being manipulated and then being manipulated in like a different algorithm. How do you say that word? Um, and then realizing that all I ever wanted was love. All I ever wanted was love. So I expect somebody to receive that back. But if you have this perspective of avoiding because you were shown avoidance, then you're going to bump into people that are going to show you things. And then you're going to open your eyes on this experience and be like, so all I ever wanted was love. Nothing has changed. All I ever want is love. But then when you start picking things apart and being like, your love is complete. If you love yourself, it's complete. And you figure out the kind of person that you are, and you start realizing that you have designed your reality without even like contemplating like how did you design this, and you chose this lifestyle that many years ago. So when you came here and everything happened the way that it happened, you were born where you were born, you lived where you lived, you had the caregivers that you had, and now you're an adult, and all that time has passed, and you're like, you sit here and you think and you listen and you like just dwell on things, and you're like, I don't need to worry about nothing, because at the end of the time that I was supposed to be here, everything happened the way that it needs to happen. Everything played out the way that it needs to play out. Like, those people, if I'm supposed to be with them, we'll meet in person. We'll connect in this life. We will bump into each other. We will connect in this lifetime. And we will do what we're supposed to do, if that's supposed to be. If it's not supposed to be like that, then they showed you something that you need to work on. They taught you something that you needed to learn. They help you reconstruct what you need to reconstruct. And then when you realize all that stuff is not for void, it's not for waste, it's not for neglect, it's not for nothing, and you realize that everything that you've gone through, the hell that you have gone through, the experiences that you've gone through, has shown you like the things that you want. And then not having them, and you're like, okay, all I want is and then you fill in the blank. Because I can only speak on my behalf, but when you come to a realization of all I ever want is love. And then when you figure that out, because not having love shows you how to love, not having food shows you things. Like the opposite shows you the, like, hate will show you how to love. Because if you understand and you step back, the idea of all I ever wanted was one thing. And then contemplating, this is how I got it. And it's even like more than I imagined. Like, it's even better than how I imagined it. And it's like, you're, 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 you're just like fucking speechless. Because you're like, how do I even like put it into audible words? Because everything you've gone through has shown you something. Now because it's universe, it's universe, shows you why it happened the way that it did. And you're just like, aha moment. because you know why it played out the way that it did. Because you can pick it apart and realize if I didn't go through that experience, I wouldn't have an idea today. Like, I want to do things, and whatever the ramifications are going to show me something. Um, and then when you realize I've achieved it, you're just like speechless.